Hey guys, I wanted to do another one of these videos that for some reason there aren't any videos about already online. And this one might be one of those common sense type situations, but this is going to be how to install your two-piece rear main seal on, well in this case on a Ford big block, but basically this is going to be any two-piece rear main seal install. And for some reason on YouTube, the only videos of people doing this were with the car still, or with the engine still in the car, and you couldn't really see what they were doing. So I've got the engine out of the car, and I'll show you exactly how to do this. So without further ado here, the first thing that you're going to need to know is there are two types of different rear main seals. One of them is called a rope seal, and that's kind of a graphite seal, and it's just sort of a long string. It looks like a little piece of rope, which is why it's called that. And that one is actually pretty difficult to install. It's kind of an old school one. You just shove it into your rear main seal insert here, and then take a socket and sort of roll it around the edge of it to get the seal to go all the way in. But that's not what was in my kit for my remain kit. This is a split lip seal, and this is a more of a newer style. It's a neoprene material instead of a graphite, and it's much easier to install. But there's no instructions, and since it's a newer thing, your old sources for like your old hot rodders and stuff, they won't be able to tell you how to install these often. I already tried asking a couple of my friends, and they said they always put rope seals in them. So I tried to find something online about this, and you couldn't find anything. And then I finally did find one forum post, and then I had to reread my engine building book over and over and over again before I finally figured out they got one small sentence about these split lip type seals in there. So I'll show you how to do that. So you'll look at these, and it's a hard, kind of a semi-soft, semi-hard plastic type material. You get two of them, they both look like this. And if you look really close there's a lip on the one side. See if the camera can focus. That lip there needs to be facing the front of the engine. This is the information that I couldn't find online. Nobody explained it. Because it's going to fit in this groove here either way. It'll fit in like this or like this. But if you put it in like this, that's backwards. It's got to be with that lip there facing forwards. So it sits in there like this. So what you're going to want to do here is don't install it dry. You're going to put some oil on it, which is what I've got here. This is just FVP 1030. I don't think it's synthetic. I try not to use synthetic engine oils on my engines just because of, you know, they're a lot thinner, and they tend to leak easier, and you get oil pressure problems with them and all sorts of stuff. It's more of a superstition than anything, but I don't like synthetic motor oils. But anyway, shouldn't matter for a seal installation. Coat this in oil. Okay, she's got oil on her. Now, you walk on over to your block here, and you just slip it in. Just put it in there, kind of like this. And notice, I'm not making both the tips flush with the block, because actually, what you want to do is you want to stagger this so half of it, or about 3/8 of an inch of it sticks out from the top over on this side, and then when you put the other half of your seal in your bearing cap, it's going to stick out the other side, so you get a full seal instead of right here and here. Those are leak points if you just put them flush, and you might have a rear main seal leak. And let me tell you something, rear mains are not easy to do with the engine still in the car, which is why I'm surprised all these people on YouTube are doing it with the engine still in the car, because it'd be much easier to take the engine off or out, flip it over like this, take the oil pan off, and take your crankshaft out to get your rear main seal. It'd be much easier than trying to do it in the car. But anyway, you want to get this 3/8 of an inch up from the top here. And since I don't have a flat feeler gauge or anything like that that's that large, I've decided that I'm going to use just this 3/8 wrench here, and it'll get it close enough if you put this up against the block like that, and then tap this down a bit, until you get 3/8 of an inch. That's pretty close, but I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause this video and pop that in the rest of the way. See, that's about where we want it. So that's what you want to do. Once that's in there, take your finger and run it along this and make sure that it's fully seated in there. You don't want it to be halfway seated. You want it to be fully seated, but be careful you don't push too hard, because if you rip that lip, there's an oil leak. So you want to make sure that it's in there, but don't rip it. So after you do that, get a little bit of oil on your finger and lubricate around up in here along the seal, so it's nice and lubricated, because what's going to happen is your crankshaft is going to spin, and if this is dry, that has a chance of grabbing onto the metal on your crank and ripping it. Kind of like, well, I'm not going to make that reference on YouTube, but you know what I'm talking about, for those of you who know. You'll end up ripping this seal because there'll be too much friction. So you want to put a little bit of oil on that. And now I'll show you what you're going to do with your bearing cap. So this is the bearing cap here, for your rear main bearing cap. And if you noticed here, right in the middle, or kind of offset to the middle, right in there, there's a pin. And it's a rather sharp pin. Now that pin, if you flip this upside down, you can see is a machine pin that's pushed in there. That pin is for the rope seal, because back in the day, split lip type seals did not exist. And since a rope seal is just graphite and there's no actual lip to hold it in place, it could just spin around in here and possibly slip out of the race, of the seal race here, and end up causing you a big oil leak, possibly big enough to cause oil pressure issues. So that little nail, essentially, was put in there to prevent the rope seal from sliding around. Well, if you put your split lip seal into this with that nail there, not only is it going to poke a hole in the seal, but oftentimes what it's going to do is it's actually going to push the seal up. And then you're not only going to have an oil leak, but your seal's ruined. So you have to get a new seal instead of just taking out the old one, or the one that was installed properly, and reinstalling it properly. It's going to ruin the seal. So you have to do it all over again. This is probably the most common thing that people screw up, novice engine builders screw up with installing split lip seals over rope seals. So what you're going to want to do is from the back, not from the front here. I'm going to flip this over, and you're going to find where that little thing is. You take a little punch. It's like I don't know, it's a really tiny hole. And put the punch on it, take a hammer, and pop it out. And then once you're done with that, take a little bit of silicone sealer and seal it back up so that it doesn't cause a little bit of an oil leak right there. I'm not going to do that on camera because I need both hands to punch that out, and I actually have to go and get some silicone sealer because I don't have any here. But you get the point. Once you get that little thing out of there, you just install your other half of your split lip seal, which I have right there. And you make sure that when you're going to put this on, you make sure that this other half sticks out on the opposite side, because the worst thing is that you're going to make it stick out on the same side, and you got to take one of them out and risk tearing it when you pull it out. So there's my rear main in-depth installation explanation. Hopefully it's a lot more helpful than a lot of the videos out there. I tried to be as thorough as possible, and I'll see you in the next one.